Hi, it's Michael from KORONA POS here today to talk about one of the most important aspects of running any small business: payroll. The timeliness and accuracy of a payroll system affects employee morale, is indicative of the company's financial health, and contributes to the stress and well-being of owners and managers. And with 17% of employees saying they would quit their job for a single late or inaccurate paycheck, the potential for significant damage from a payroll error is real. And that's not to mention the costly fines the IRS levies on 40% of small and medium-sized businesses each year for payroll errors. Payroll management is a huge responsibility for any store, from those hiring casual help to those looking to scale their team and grow their business. But it can be dry, time-consuming, stressful, and quickly turn into a headache for small business owners if they don't know how to do it correctly. So if you've been struggling with managing payroll at your store and looking for ways to address it, you've landed in the right spot. This video will walk you through what each process of managing payroll entails and what option might be best for your business. You'll also learn how the right POS software can make your company's payroll a breeze. The first step to understanding managing payroll is to make sure your business meets all the legal requirements to operate as an employer. One of those legal requirements is obtaining an employer identification number, or EIN, to hire and pay employees. EINs are unique numbers, kind of like a social security number for your business, that you'll use to report taxes and other relevant information to the IRS. Obtaining an EIN is a process that is done online through the IRS website. Your information will be validated during the online session, and you will receive your EIN immediately. Verify that your state tax identification number is the same as the federal number. If it isn't, determine if you need to apply for one or if it is automatically assigned. Once you have your employee identification number, you can choose the schedule that best suits your business and the decisions that will impact how you manage payroll. There are some essentials to consider when setting up your payroll process. First is your payment schedule. The payment schedule lets you know how often you want to pay your employees. Do you want to pay them monthly, bi-monthly, or weekly? It's up for you to decide what's convenient for you and your state to decide what they require. Next, tax payments. Plan for important quarterly tax return dates, holidays, and annual tax return dates. Remember, you will need to do this at the beginning of each year. Also, find out how often you'll have to pay taxes and what taxes you'll be subject to. Will you have to pay state taxes, local taxes? Find out the rates ahead of time so you know how much you have to withhold. It's also essential to establish each employee's preferred method of delivery. Most companies typically use paper checks, direct deposits, payment cards, or sometimes even cash. Finally, you'll need to determine how you'll calculate payroll. Will you do it manually using Excel, use a payroll service, or do it through your point of sale software? Once you've set up your payroll process, you need to collect several necessary payroll documents each time a new employee is ready to start work. These documents consist of tax and work authorization forms that employees must sign. You'll use the data on the forms to add the employee to your HR or payroll system. It's advisable to keep these files available for future access, either as hard copy paper documents or as secure electronic personnel files. First are W-4s. A W-4 form is the federal withholding document that tells you the correct federal income tax rate based on factors such as marital status, dependents, other employment or income, and deductions. It must be submitted by the employee on or before the first day of their employment. Obtain a signed federal W-4 form from each staff member prior to starting employment. Each time their personal or financial situation changes, your employees can complete and return a new W-4, and the IRS issues a new W-4 each year. Encourage them to do this. Though as the business owner, you do not need to submit it to the IRS, it's important to file it away for your business's records. You'll also likely need a state W-4. The state W-4 form is a tax document that works as a guide for employers to withhold a specific amount from each paycheck to pay state taxes. It works the same way as the federal W-4 form in that it informs your employer of your withholding requirements. However, there's a difference between the state W-4 forms and the federal W-4s. All employees in the United States complete a federal W-4, but not all employees need to complete a state W-4. Tax withholding and form requirements vary depending on the state in which you reside. Make sure to collect a signed state W-4 for tax withholding and securely file it away as well if it's required in your state. Next, I-9s. The I-9 is used to verify the identity and employment authorization of persons hired for employment in the United States. The form must be provided within 3 days of the employee's start date. All U.S. employers must properly complete the I-9 form for each individual they hire for employment in the United States. This includes citizens and non-citizens. These three are the most critical, but there are several other payroll-related forms to be aware of. These may be useful to help you organize your company's payroll processes. And while these aren't typically the responsibility of the employer, it's nonetheless important to educate your employees about any relevant forms that they may need. A W-2 form consists of total annual wages earned and is used for tax return purposes. W-3s are used to report total wages and taxes for all employees. Form 941 is used to report quarterly income and FICA taxes withheld from paychecks. Form 944 withholds return of annual income tax and FICA tax from paychecks. Schedule H, or Form 1040, serves as a return for taxes on wages paid to domestic employees like nannies or caregivers. And Form WH-347 reports payroll information for employees working on federal projects. In addition to getting your payroll organized and established, you also have to actually calculate it. Start by determining the number of hours an employee worked for the pay period. Then consider gross pay, taxes due, deductions for insurance premiums and other benefits, and then final net pay. The employee's gross salary is the amount you must pay them without any deductions. To calculate the gross salary, simply add up the regular hours, up to 40 hours a week, and multiply them by the employee's hourly rate. Then add up any overtime hours worked during the pay period and apply the employee's overtime pay rate to these hours. Regular hours are paid at the employee's regular pay rate, while overtime hours are generally calculated at 1.5 times the regular rate of pay. If you're calculating a salaried employee's payroll, you'll need to determine the total amount due for that pay period by prorating it. If you pay yourself as an employee, include your salary. As an employer, you also must calculate many deductions, including federal income tax, state and local income tax. Payroll tax is a broader term that includes Social Security and Medicare taxes, known as FICA taxes, federal unemployment taxes, and state unemployment taxes. That's why it's imperative to collect the initial forms when you hire a new employee. You'll need them to determine how much to withhold from each salary. Charges such as health insurance, retirement savings plans, or any other benefits you offer will also be deducted from their paycheck. Garnishments such as child support or federal tax deductions may also be subtracted. To calculate these deductions, add up all the deductions for each employee to get a total, then subtract that from the employee's gross pay. Alternatively, you can list each deduction as an item and deduct them from the employee's gross salary until you get the net salary. Starting a business and finding the perfect payroll solution can be nerve-wracking and overwhelming. With all the different options and variables, it's hard to find the best solution. A POS system integrated with a payroll management system can offer you the ease and efficiency of paperless payroll and help you manage everything from your employee payroll to taxes and benefits. KORONA POS is a point-of-sale software with a fully integrated payroll solution that consolidates all employee data into one centralized location. All time clocks, schedules, vacation days, and calls are uploaded and stored. When it's time to process payroll, there's no need to pull out the calculator and use specific formulas. An optimized payroll system will perform these calculations and ensure the accuracy of all payments. In other words, the POS payroll system does all the complicated work so you don't have to. A solution like this can be a game changer in a retail store with multiple employees. If you want to learn more about how to do payroll with KORONA POS, click the link in the description and sign up for a free demo. And if you're interested in more advice on running a small business, subscribe to our blog and channel. Thanks for watching.